Hey, what's going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of JJ's One Man Podcast. I know. I said I was going to try to do more of these episodes a lot more frequently, but look how much content I've been putting up on the channel. Look how many things I've been trying to give you guys as far as content. So every once in a while, I'm going to falter somewhere. At least, certain things are going to go through the cracks. But hopefully, you guys have been enjoying all of the content I've been posting up on the channel as of lately. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Like this video, like some of the other videos you've been watching. Let me know what's up in the comments as well. Like, tell me some of your guys' thoughts about some of the reviews, some of the unboxings, and other types of videos, gameplay impressions too, that I've been giving to all of you. But with all that put to the side, let's actually talk about The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I've been struggling a little bit of how to actually sit down and talk about this game because I feel like not only myself, but many other people that have struggled to really kind of, just sit down and have a conversation about The Last of Us Part 2 always find themselves at least trying to avoid stepping into a minefield. Because that's how it feels like when you're trying to discuss a game like this, specifically this game in this series, ever since the reaction to it happened last year, between people in the games media, people in the industry reacting to it, between the consumers and a lot of the fans and people online on social media reacting to it. There's a million and one different things that could go wrong, and there's a million and one different things that could just blow up in front of somebody's face when trying to just talk about this game. And what's weird about it is I think that in of itself is the exact issue. That in of itself is the problem. The conversation and the discussion and the discourse about The Last of Us Part 2 is really what really turns people off about it. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm going to give my real thoughts because I was one of those people that decided to wait to play The Last of Us Part 2. And luckily for me, it worked out pretty good because I was able to write about it on Red Bull Gaming, which was pretty awesome. I was able to write about, so far, about 2 to 3 different features and editorials about The Last of Us Part 2 for various different things, related to their contests, related to certain aspects about the game that they just wanted to get more awareness about. And that was totally fine. So I at least, spent time playing the game. I played through the game, I finished it, and all this stuff. I played it on normal, and I have all these thoughts about it. So my main thing about The Last of Us Part 2 is that it is not a terrible game. It is not a garbage game. It is not a game that I feel like a lot of people who are upset about certain aspects involving the discourse about it are really being fair to this game whatsoever. The game is beautiful as far as being one of the best looking PS4 games of the generation of the console itself. And that's no small feat. I mean, there's a lot of detail in this game. There's a lot of great looking character models. There's a lot of environments that are awesome. There's a lot of good layout for different aspects about the game, when it comes to items, when it comes to hazards and all these other different things. The game in of itself with that regard, with the visual fidelity and the way that it runs on a PlayStation 4 and on a PlayStation 4 Pro is pretty freaking awesome. I'm curious to see if this will look even more fantastic or run even smoother on a PlayStation 5. I've yet to try that out, but still, it sounds like something I should look into. But outside of that, a lot of the hostile feelings and the hostile thoughts that I see online on social media and in different YouTube videos and stuff really stems from the way that people have talked about this game and the way that specifically people that support this game and really like this game have been towards people that maybe have an issue with it, or maybe that people that just don't like it as much. I'm not addressing and I'm not talking about the bigots out there. There's a huge difference. Everybody says if you don't like this game, you're a bigot, or if you don't like this game, you're such and such, trying to label you all these different things. And I think that in itself contributes to the problem rather than try to actually remedy it. And it's really kind of giving a lot of credence to a lot of people that are within a vocal minority. I keep messing up my words. A lot of people that are within a vocal minority that are really loud, that are just trying to be loud for the sake of being loud on social media. I think that the leaks to this game contributed a good amount to that, because there were just, everybody had an opinion about this game at some point, and everybody felt like there were certain things that were being done that was just so out of left field and so far removed from what the game was actually going to be. And I don't think it was fair to Naughty Dog and the rest of the team over there that just, they were trying to put out this game and they just got their whole thing just blown out. And that sucks. I've heard stories of other game developers and publishers having that same similar issue, and the first impression is usually the most important, and it just kind of sucked for them, because it was just everybody was judging this game before it came out. But now that all that has passed, what do I feel personally else about, certain aspects of the game that everybody made such a big deal about? I don't think that it was as bad as anybody said. I don't think it was as terrible as anybody said. Now, the other flip side of that, which I heavily disagree with from a lot of people last year, especially those in the industry that I've seen defend this game so hard, I don't think it was the best game of 2020. Personally, for me, it was not the best game of 2020. That's not to take away with how good it was doing certain aspects, but for me, the best games out of 2020 came down to 3 games. Was either Hades, was Ghost of Tsushima, and Final Fantasy VII Remake. And some people could argue also Animal Crossing New Horizon, but I think that was more because of the game's like release and like when it came out during like all this crazy stuff that's been going on with the pandemic and such. But when you really get down to it and really slice everything open and get down to the brass tacks of like what game was like the best game period of 2020 and like what game made me feel like I had the most fun and the most enjoyment out of it, it wasn't The Last of Us Part 2. Granted, again, I played it late or far removed from everybody else in 2020, but still, like, looking at it through that lens and looking at it through the lens of a game that was released just last year, like months ago, not even, and just like feeling like, okay, how did I feel in comparison to between that game and everything else I played? It just wasn't matching up to it. I felt like all the other games that I mentioned were far better times that I had playing those games than I did with The Last of Us Part 2. So it really comes down to is like, okay, this game isn't terrible, but it's not like, the monumental success or the monumental, like, landmark and benchmark that everybody was trying to make it out to be. What does that really say for the discourse and the talk about this game overall? It just was very, very hostile. Like, the funny thing is, right? Everybody really tried to like dismiss opinions from people like Angry Joe and a few others that I saw that were really kind of getting to the nitty gritty of like specifics of the game. Now, granted, someone like Angry Joe is like angry about everything, like is like comically angry about like stupid stuff. And I feel like there were certain like parts of his review that I think were maybe taken a little bit too far, but I understood where he was coming from. I understood where they felt very burned by some of the things that happened in the story. Like, again, I'm not going to get into too many spoilers here, but everybody knows that Joel dies in this game. I felt that I was cool with him passing away and him getting killed in some way during the course of the story, but I think that what really kind of could have made that better is if the game wasn't told in such like a Pulp Fiction-y type of way, where it time jumps between different sections, where you see a certain amount of events and then you time jump to like in the past, then you time jump back to the present, then you go back into the past. Like, I felt like if that wasn't done like that, if the game was a little bit much more straightforward with its, time frame and all the events that happen in the narrative happened like in succession, then everybody would have liked the game vastly more. Like, they would have enjoyed the game so much more. And I felt like things like Joel dying and some of the other things that we get to see in there would have had much more emotional weight, and they probably would have been so much more impactful rather than just getting people angry, which, if you really break that down too, feeling something like anger or any sort of emotion over a game, the game is doing its job. So maybe that's why a lot of people really were like giving a lot of accolades to this game. However, if you really, personally for me, when you really get down to it, it's not the game that's the issue. It's everybody else that's discussing it that's like the bigger issue at hand. And personally for me, I think that I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I played it so far removed from everybody else, because I felt like I would have gotten caught up in the noise on social media if I was playing the game and then seeing everybody constantly like badmouth it or talk about it in such a crappy way. It was all over the place, man. And I like to discuss games and I like to, absorb games away from nonsense like that, or away from noise like that, I should say, because there was legit criticism being put into there, but it was just getting so overpowered by all this other craziness and this crap that everybody couldn't really tell what was what. They couldn't separate from the nonsense from like the legit criticism or the legit opinions. That goes from everybody on all sides, people in the industry, people on, YouTube, content creators, people that are just talking, as consumers on social media. It was literally an entire hodgepodge of just nonsense and craziness just mixed into everything else. But either way, those are my overall thoughts about The Last of Us Part 2. I still think it was a pretty decent game. I'm glad I played it. One of the things that really sparked this conversation for me, or at least to sit down and finally talk about it, was the video that I saw from Easy Allies. And Easy Allies actually did this whole type of thing about The Last of Us where they tried to get very philosophical a little bit. They were trying to really quote like all these other things and authors. And I think that's cool. But I think one of the other issues about this game, or about the conversation about this game, is that people are tired of being talked down to. Now, Easy Allies didn't really do that, but I felt like they were trying to, step around like a little bit more carefully about this game, which I totally understand. Like, nobody wants to be caught up in the craziness of this game's discussion at times, especially from a certain group of audience that feel like they have to rally for certain things. But I think on the flip side of that, from what we saw from a lot of people on social media, especially those that have a large following on Twitter, that were really talking down to people, that were really like being rude and nasty and being like all over the place. And it was just something that was so annoying and so it was so disappointing to see, because like some of these people, I felt like they should know better. I feel like they could talk to people a little bit better rather than just trying to get at people. Like they're trying to get one over or trying to poke at, a certain group of individuals that are just like, not good people. Rather than engage those, why don't you just go talk to everybody else over here and actually, just have a convo about this game that I feel like is a little bit more productive, a little bit better, and a little bit much more not inquisitive, like insightful, just in general. I feel like that would have been so much more better for everybody, myself included. And I probably would have joined in on the conversations. But anyway, that's just me. Let me know your thoughts about The Last of Us Part 2 down in the comments section below. Talk to me about your experience playing the game, if you've played it, or again, like some of your experience, like seeing some of the convos online about The Last of Us Part 2. Was it your favorite game of 2020, or at least one of them from 2020? Talk to me about that stuff down below in the comments. Leave a like on this video, of course, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this and other like reviews, other unboxings, gameplay impressions, all types of stuff. I have some really cool and interesting things planned that are going to be happening within the next like couple weeks, especially going into May, because right now at the time we're recording this, we're getting ready to go into April, but then, May is going to be like right around the corner. So I got some cool, neat little things that I have planned for the channel. So be on the lookout for that stuff. Until then, I will talk to all of you guys again very soon. Peace out. And stay epic, everybody.